What's up, everybody? It's your boy ShowtimeDr. So today, we're gonna go into who is the worst 4-star character. Now, I did a 5-star version of this earlier. Got a lot of salt. Still getting a lot of salt. It's just the way it is. But so, there's one guy who's like, you could have just saved yourself lots of time if you just would have clicked the view all button. So, okay, fine. Did the view all button. And then also too, guys, this is more of a community thing because there's no one in the game, for the most part, that's had experience with every character, let alone every character from a certain star level. So I just go by, like, I like to hear your guys' opinions on, you know, characters I don't have, like Rose here, etc. So, but I could tell you what I know about the characters and then give you some potential candidates, and then you guys can give me. I believe the consensus in the last video was Ludwig is actually the worst 5-star character because of how situational he is with the invincibility, because that's not exactly a widely available buff, let alone all the situations that you have to have him in. And people were just saying his damage wasn't that good, but as far as we got pushback on Ken, Kayron, etc., so we'll see how it shakes out. But for now, it's Ludwig, guys. That was the answer to the last one, community vote-wise. So let's get into these 4-star characters right here. So Rose, I believe Rose is actually very good. Every time I fought against her in the story, she's been annoying as hell. She's very strong. Arguably stronger than Shadow Rose, actually. And, you know, just overall, the way that she serves her team from the provokes and the buffs, etc. Good mitigation. I think she's a good character, so I wouldn't put her there. Silk. Silk is, you know, she's available at the table. Has a good AoE buff/debuff with speed. And her one's always constantly doing knockback. Now, the only thing I don't like about Silk, I believe, you know, this thing with automatic fire. Essentially, she stacks focus and then she gets automatic fire, but it's not a bad thing per se. It amps her damage a little bit, but it still feels kind of weird for a character that's all about like speed and decreasing speed, etc. But whatever. Her 2's her 2, that's it. Now here's our first candidate. I would say Mercedes, and it's not because Mercedes actually got a buff. It's not because she's necessarily a bad character, because in theory, all of her stuff hits AoE. So her 3 hits AoE, her 2 hits AoE, and her 1 hits AoE. So this is 2-person though. Her 1 hits 2 people. But so in PvP, I've actually seen her be really strong if people chose to invest in her, because she's always hit multiple characters. So that gets to be kind of annoying in a PvP environment. It's just a matter of getting her stats to the right places. So I'm not saying she's the worst, but I'll put her up there as a candidate for right now. Now Armin's actually one of the better units in the game. She isn't a provoke tank, but she is very good for mitigation because her 3 puts up, it does a heal and it puts up a barrier, which is pretty strong. Her 2 gives her defense buff and puts up an array of debuffs. And then her 1 has a pretty good chance to stun on anybody that has a debuff, especially. Gets bonus damage when someone has a debuff, and actually does deceptively good damage if you get her defense high enough. So, in general, she's pretty useful. I've used her on all types of things, so I just think she's fine. Now, Zerato. Zerato's a guy that you mostly see him in PvP because he has a pretty high base chance to stun with his 3, and then his 2 does a little bit of extra damage when debuffed. His 1, it decreases speed, but nothing to write home about. But when you consider you can get this to 5 turns, and then this is on a 3 turn, so he's there basically for the first turn in most PvP teams, and if he happens to be up still 4 and 5 turns later, then he does all his stuff again. Now Karen, I'm not going to put her in the worst category, because Karen's really good, and she can do top tier single target DPS if you get her built up right. The way she works, basically, her 2, if she crits with it, she needs to be 100% crit, by the way. If she crits with her 2, hopefully it puts decreased defense down, and then she gets an extra turn from it, so then in theory you can follow up with her 3, which you can burn, if you wish. And then her 1, if she crits with it, it brings down the cooldowns on her 2 and her 3. Her only issue is she is so squishy, even if you give her good gear, because she doesn't have anything that does defensive anything for her. not barrier or stealth or anything. So if you run her, you should probably actually run her with, well, you know, extra turn. That's a good one, but otherwise, most of the rogue artifacts are actually good for her, but the one that gives her stealth, and then if she kills something, gives her an attack buff. I think that one's the best for her, because that's the closest you get to any type of mitigation for her. Corvus. There's a debate with Corvus that I've seen. His overall usefulness, because, you know, on this one, he's transferring a debuff randomly, 50% chance to one person. And then attacks all enemies with an Iron Mace, decreasing combat readiness. That's actually pretty good. But it's kind of on a longer cooldown. It can get to 3 turns if you want, but 4 turns for a 2, a little bit long, but you know, your results may vary there. So then, on his 3, he increases his defense, grants him an extra turn, and then it actually ends up buffing some of his other abilities, so Shield Slam ends up stunning, which is his 1. So his overall usefulness, because he's marketed to us as a warrior, but it's just a matter of, and you guys let me know that actually use Corvus, but every time I hear about Corvus, most people just aren't using them. I haven't built them up personally because I have so many warriors, I just don't really need to. Now Cartusia, oh by the way, I'll put Corvus up as a candidate there. You guys let me know. Cartusia is actually pretty useful because he has this little AoE here, decreases attack. And then if you get like, well, I won't talk about the upgraded version, but I see this guy frequently in PvP, so when you attack him, his combat readiness goes up to 20% if he's at less than 50% health, and he has decreased defense on his 2, so I wouldn't put him as a candidate. Sid can actually be one of the more higher DPS units in the game, and he's a direct hard counter to Sez. So he's actually one of the better 4-stars. Akedi is actually one of the better 4-stars too, as far as healing. She has that elusive invincibility buff. Shuri, most people, they replace their... what was her name? Anyways, Axe Bikini Girl with Shuri, because Shuri's a guy that also buffs combat readiness of all allies. And you can get it here actually up to 25%, which is pretty strong as long as he's critting. So I've seen lots of people do 100% crit builds with him. So he's a really strong character. I actually wish I had one. Now Dingo's got this weird thing to where people either love him or hate him. And it pretty much depends on what you're running him with. But essentially, his 1 has a chance to instantly activate his 2. I believe that's the cooldown, so he can use it the next turn. But you guys that actually use him, let me know. And then attacks all enemies with Glut Oven. If the enemy's bleeding, 75% chance to burn. It's actually AoE, so it's pretty nice. Now, what happens with most people once you get your Awakening mats up? You know, you get allies a meal, dispel all debuffs, but I believe that's on him only, not just everybody. And then decrease cooldown, a random turn. I believe this will go on allies randomly, because I've seen it go off on just like 3 people and 2 people. Maybe the specialty Awakened Star affects that somehow. Nah, it just does extra turn. Well, I don't know exactly, but sometimes I see it go off on multiple people, sometimes I don't. Who knows what's going on there, but this guy's pretty useful. He'll open up with his 3. You know, dispel buffs, give himself an extra turn, skill decrease the allies, and he just comes with this 2. And then burn and bleed both scale off of attack power. So him as a warrior, it seems like an odd fit, but it works. Clarissa's actually a candidate for one of the more powerful characters in the game, just because if she kills something, she follows up with Rage. It grants extra AoE attacks. And then her 1 puts decreased defense down for 2 turns, and then her 3 is a big bleeding ult. So you can actually run her with bleed stackers such as like Haste or Surin, etc. Clarissa's actually one of the better 4-stars. Leo, I actually have no idea. Never actually used Leo and I don't get to see him much. Let me look at him here. His 1 has a stun. 2 has a chance to decrease the defense for 2 turns. And a chance to use Sparrow Dive after. And then his 3 decreases speed and stuns. Yeah, I don't actually know enough about this character. He looks alright. You guys that actually have Leo, let me know. Is he a useful character to you or not? Lots is actually one of the another really good healer in the game because he actually puts up continuous healing on top of does some combat readiness. And then he can do like a super heal, which increases combat readiness by up to 100 if you increase it right away. And then his one's your typical decrease attack, but he's actually pretty good. Now, Maya's actually an underrated tank, I would say, just because I don't see her a lot. Her one stuns, defense proportional to defense, or attack, excuse me, defense proportional to defense. And then her 2 has a good chance to stun as well. You could soul break it for a skill cooldown, basically have it available. Get up to 100% base chance to stun if you want. And then her 3, it provokes. It's on a 6-turn cooldown, you can get it to 5. Provokes up to a 50% base chance as well as decrease attack. So I actually think she's really good. It's just most people, you know, they end up getting like a Cecilia or something and she's left in the dust. Now, Coley recently got buffed. I didn't think she was that good when I first looked at her. But now, she kind of plays the stealth game, so she'll go into stealth. She uses her 2 here. And gives herself a barrier too, that's actually pretty good. And then her 3 actually puts her into stealth as well. And she can ignore effect resist rather, and stun. So I'd actually say she's actually pretty good now. She used to not be that great. Purgus, I believe he's the dude that does that AoE stun charge, right? Yeah. Actually pretty good for PvP. I see a lot of people use him, so I'm not going to put him up as a candidate. Now, Crozet, I don't see too many people use him. So his 1 decreases attack, stacks with defense. 2 is a barrier for a single target. On a 2-turn cooldown, which is actually fairly strong. Oh, this is the guy with that, when he like points his sword forward, a bunch of arrows go flying. Yeah, I don't know, like, for a knight, he seems to be, like, he has some protection skills. But then, like, he seems to be mostly, like, he's affecting the other team, not so much a buffer or a damage protector or whatever. Now, Domino, I think I got a request to review this character, so I should do that at some point soon. Try to get it out tonight. I believe she got buffed recently as well, so let's see here. 35% chance to decrease speed. That's pretty unique for 1. That's Reflect and Barrier. Reflect actually reflects some damage. I wonder what the reflect damage actually is. On all allies for 2 turns with Frost Magic. You guys that have her, let me know how hard the reflect ticks. I'm guessing it doesn't tick that hard, but I don't know, maybe in PvP it would be useful. Who knows? And then 3 Ice Spear, I remember this. This has a chance to stun and decreases combat readiness. Seems like she could be pretty good, so I'm not going to put her up. Cerelia's not out, so I'm not going to judge her. She's out on Korean, but we'll probably get her on Halloween. Assuming the game, everything goes that long. Oh no, this is the guy that shoots arrows. Yeah, maybe not. Most of the people I know that have Roman like him. Poison effects. Combat. So he looks like he affects a lot of combat readiness. Yeah, he's probably pretty strong. I know a lot of people that really swear by him. Now, Ren's kind of a weird character. I have actually built her up a little bit. So on her 1, she dispels, which can be good. On her 2, she has decreased defense, but then randomly she'll trigger her 1 50% of the time, which is nice. And then her 3, it heals and it gives 3 random debuffs. I believe if you upgrade her, yeah, because I just haven't upgraded her Actually, I have. I think it just hasn't... It doesn't register on the... Oh no, it's 2 buffs. Okay, so it's 3 turns, my bad. So, she gives 2 random debuffs. That can be really good. It just, you know, it's debuff or buff roulette. So you never know what's going to happen there. But, so she's kind of a good, like, support. I wouldn't run her as, like, a main healer, but she's alright. Angelica's actually very strong. I don't even need to get into her. Surin's really strong, the Bleed Queen. Now, Shadow Rose, this is one that's up for debate. I'll probably put her on. And it's not that she's bad, it's just as far as what she's usable for. Because there's a lot of people that get pissed off that they prefer decreased defense over unhealable, because if wherever she's attacking is above 50%, she puts decreased defense. But if they're lower, it puts unhealable. Well, unhealable's great, except most of the mobs in the game don't heal themselves or get healed by other people. So most people would rather still have decreased defense. They should probably consider that, but who knows if they ever will. On her too, this is a Dispel with decreased defense on a 3-turn cooldown. So if you're not getting your decreased defense from this, you can get it from here on a 3-turn cooldown. And then her 3 attacks all enemies. So simultaneously increases the team's combat readiness and decreases enemy combat readiness, but of course that can be resisted. And as far as I've been told, the damage on this isn't that great, which she is a knight, so not necessarily supposed to have amazing damage. But then this, let's see, yeah, she doesn't have anything that scales with anything. So I don't know, I'll put her up, but I don't know if she's the worst, because she still does put up a lot of stuff, and she dispels. So, but maybe for an ML unit. Now, Wanderer Silk, very different from regular Silk. Wanderer Silk is a lockdown hero. She is meant to silence and make someone unhealable for 2 turns. So if you're dealing with like a DN or someone else that's really annoying, or even like a Kayron in PvP, you silence them, and then that way they don't get their ulties off. And then you go ahead and focus them because they're unhealable. And then you wreck them. So that's what she's there for, in theory. She doesn't have any AoEs like regular Silk does. This is available every 2 turns, so fire an arrow, but it appears to be AoE, but it's actually single target, so she's a single target lockdown hero overall. Not a bad hero though, pretty good hero. Now we get the Celestial Mercedes. She's the same way, she does a lot of AoE damage, as a regular Mercedes does, but it's all different things. So she can increase her own attack and combat readiness according to the number of critical hits made. 20% times however many critical hits, I guess, with the skill. Which, if you're fighting something that has like 5 enemies, you know, she can basically insta-go again if she's 100% crit. And then this one, it scales with her health. Doesn't really do much of anything besides damage. And then this is unhealable, so it's not that she's bad, she just has to be played a certain way, but she can instantly take 2 turns if you get her in the right situation, so that's pretty strong. Crimson Armin's actually one of the stronger 4-stars in the game, just because not only does she have Provoke, all her stuff, or her 1 scales with defense, she passively decreases critical damage, which is kind of strong, can get up to 30%. But then on her 3, she can make the party immune for 3 turns, which means no debuffs. And invincible for 1 turn, which means no damage. So that's actually pretty strong for... You can get it down to 3 if you burn it and get the upgrade. Really strong ability there. You can take her with like DN or like Assassin Cartusia or something, and basically not have to worry about debuffs. Which is actually pretty broken now. Bloodblade Karen's actually one of the better AoE damagers in the game, and actually, I believe does have actually 1 defensive thing. Oh yeah, she lifesteals, so keeps herself up a little bit. So she's pretty strong. Now, Assassin Cartusia is actually one of the better 4-stars in the game. Decreased defense stun on his 3, which is a single target. Increases the evasion chance for all allies. That basically means you're going to avoid debuffs up to 20%, and then get additional combat readiness. I believe this is just for him, though, but every time you evade, so basically when you resist a debuff, And then there's bleeding here on his 1, so he's actually a pretty strong hero. Shooting Star Katie's arguably the best healer in the game. Just because she AoE... Or, excuse me, I'll get to that later. Basically, she can heal... Not only is there a heal that goes off, but she brings up the balance. So, like, say so one person's at 20% and one person's at 60%. She'll put a heal on that 20% person, it will bring them up to 60% instantly, and then heal both of them, is how I believe the skill works. On top of that, so... That's pretty strong by itself. Is a revive with immortality, but you can also cast it if they're not dead, and it grants immortality and 2 random buffs for 3 turns, which is very stupid. I don't know if immortality actually goes to 3 turns. That seems like it's borderline broken, but if it does, that's super strong. And then her 1 decreased hit chance. So anti-debuff right there. So that's pretty good. Now Gilda or Aether, I've actually seen this character be really good. The issue with her is you have to, or him, is that you have to build his attack. Actually becomes an attack hero as a mage, which is funny, because regular Aether is a Soul Weaver. But yeah, overall, you know, continuous healing, does pretty good damage, puts barrier up, so it's a good hero overall. Now watch your Shuri. This guy is actually... He puts up target, which is pretty rare. Target actually makes it so that that person takes additional damage. Usually it starts at 15%. But I don't know if they tweaked it for certain characters or not. Has a Dispel on his 2. 75% chance AoE Dispel. Gives himself additional speed. And then this is a Penetrate shot. Shot that ignores defense. So this guy can actually be very strong. Then Lots, I won't get into Lots, but Lots is actually super strong. His ML version super strong. Assassin Coley, arguably the strongest single target damage in the game. Fighter Maya, actually really good. You know, needs to sew up her clothes a little bit, but has a Provoke. 50% base, has a Dispel with increased defense on her 2. And then this is a finisher. If the enemy's health is less than 30, does 300% total damage, which is pretty strong. Damage deal increase is proportional to caster's defense, so she can just be a finisher as well as a little bit of buffage there. Purgus is actually really good. Maybe Purgus was the one I was thinking about earlier. He has AoE stun, I remember that. All allies combat readiness when attacked, and then has a Provoke on his 1. So he can be really good. Now, Challenger Domino, I've actually... Let me read her kit. I've actually never read her kit here. Critical hit increases damage dealt. When an ally makes a critical hit, the caster's next attack deals stacked additional damage proportional to the number of critical hits. Yeah, that's crazy. Combat readiness increases by 10% per critical hit. Release powerful electricity, increasing critical hit rate of all allies for 3 turns. And combat readiness by 10%. The caster is also granted an extra turn. Yeah, I could see her being pretty good. You'd have to run her with, like, Bloodblade Karen or someone that you built with 100% crit, but she could be really good. So I guess our candidates, I'll throw Ren in there. Not that Ren's bad, it's just she's so much RNG. We'll put Crozet in. Situational. And then who else was on the list? Mercedes, regular Mercedes. I guess Corvus, we could put Corvus in. But if you guys have a different opinion, let me know. Which 4-star heroes you think aren't that great. We got some situational ones I just don't know enough about because I never see them get used. So, but that'll be that, so... And I'll make sure to title the video so people don't get all angry. Like, you were supposed to tell us which one is supposed to be. But it's a debate, guys. So what do you guys think? Which character is the worst 4-star character? Let me know. Anyways, yo, I'm ShowtimeDr, ShowtimeDr. You found my YouTube. Hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Also, check the title info. There's going to be a link to my Discord as well as my Twitch. Stream this game sometimes on my Twitch. We got a tab for this game on the Discord, so you know how that goes. Yada, yada, yada. I will catch you guys later on. Peace.